Ladies, what is your favorite Excel function and why? I cannot tell you how much joy it brings me to import a data table from another source, sort by largest to smallest and vice versa, and then color code it. My emails always look stellar. This comment is 100% serious. Conditional formatting coupled with format paint. Tut. Sumifs or countifs double teaming it. I'm a fan of a good old-fashioned nested if. But I wish I knew more about Excel overall. It's kind of hard to learn when you don't have anyone to show you. Pivot tables are exceptionally sexy. Get in my spreadsheets. I quite like conditional formatting. Can easily see dates that have expired, incorrect inputs etc. Working on the same sheets with my whole team means that I can really simply audit what we're doing without a whole heap of effort. Concatenate. Most people I work with use it to create a globby mess, and I like showing people how to use it properly. I don't know, I get pretty freaky in the sheets. My wife says countifs, because it is necessary to make VLOOKUP useful when you have duplicates in your data set. I don't know what that means. I'm surprised no one has said index, match, yet. I'm also a fan of offset. I'm kinky that way. Rand because it is so random. I have a final on Access and Excel on Monday, so I'm definitely studying this thread LOL. F2 is too fire. Merge and center. It makes the aesthetics so much nicer. Hands down Power Query / get and transform / create connections. You haven't lived with data management through Excel until you learn how to use that. Literally saved days of manual data compilation and manipulation. Equals Roman. It turns your numbers into Roman numerals. Not exactly a function, but convert text to columns. Fixes so many funky date formatting issues. I'm particularly fond of if, a 1 equals, equation. It's basic, but I always get a kick out of working subtotal, 109 range, into formulas so I can just filter a column for one-time lookups. Also a big fan of F2 Control plus Enter because it looks cooler than dragging down when someone is watching. You can use an offset function inside a named range to create a dynamic named range that will expand or contract based on how many cells are filled in. So if you are doing something where you constantly have to change the size of a range, put an offset inside a named range and it will always expand to fit. Also, use named ranges. No more of the range B4x185 crap. Call it Q1 revenue so you actually know what the fuck you're looking at in your formulas. Creating own functions in VBA. VLOOKUPs all day. Equals clean. Equals trim. Equals proper. This makes me smile. All of it. Network days does it for me. Macros. Whatever I have learned to use most recently, of course. Because I end up finding multiple applications in my job for them to make things easier. In the past these have been sumifs, VLOOKUP, index, match, pivot tables, macros, summing a range of numbers based on the date in a cell, YDD stuff. I'm an accountant, and most recently, my favorite, conditional formatting a row of data based on a selected criteria. So lately I've had lots of sheets going between me and others. I use this to highlight rows where they need to take an action, or if they show one thing and I show another and we need to come to an agreement about it. Goal seek. Try to find the right value for your business case. Goal seek is your friend. Indirect is so useful. Usually I like things to be planned out and calculated, but something about rand between just gets me going. Can't choose. Excel is generally a gift for an analyst in me. I just upvoted every comment because I love every Excel function, smiling face with heart eyes, but probably pivot tables if I really had to choose. If error is so great for cleaning your sheets. And dative is one of the best things for dealing with dates. Sumifs. Basic AF but Control plus D. I do a lot of data massage from exports from archaic systems, and that function saves me so much time. Macros just do shit for me. If error. All those wasted years typing out if, is error, xa, when I could just have used if error, ax. Indirect, offset and sum product are pretty sexy too. Although it's super basic, sum is what I use most often and I love it. I love tracking my finances and the satisfaction that comes with setting up a new spreadsheet and creating cells that add up my bank account total or how much money I've spent this year is like no other. Control plus and of. Index match is my favorite, it strives where VLOOKUPs can't. I'm excited for SLOOKUPs. Or COUNTIF, I love having that data splay itself out. Why is this limited to the ladies? I love conditional formatting, coupled with filter by color, among others. Asking the real, hard-hitting questions. Alt plus 0176. Alt codes save me so much time. Using equals mod, row, 2, equals 0 or equals mod, column, 2, equals 0 formulas within conditional formatting to create banded rows/columns, without having to format the data into a table or data range. The if function, which I use at work to automatically calculate the due date for halfway through, 2 days before, and the actual due date for a report based on when it was created and how quickly it is required. Say a critical report, Priority 1, was opened yesterday, December 13, 2019, it would be due in 5 business days, December 20th. My if function takes the priority and adds 5 business days to it to calculate the due date of the 20th. It also calculates the first reminder date, 2 business days, and second reminder date, 2 days before it's due, so 3 days for AP1. It takes into account bank holidays based on a pre-populated list. Because the due date is different based on priority, and especially this time of year when we have multiple bank holidays so close together, it's really easy to miscalculate if you are doing it manually. It has saved the business I work for money because it has significantly reduced the number of late reports which we would need to pay service credits, essentially a refund on what we are paid because he did not fulfill our service agreement with the client. This is then paired with some conditional formatting to color the date fields for first reminder, second reminder, and due date with green, orange or red so that it can be chased as needed without having to complete a manual check of the date field. It might not be the cleanest of formula, but I hate Excel with the fiery passion of 1,000 suns. I pieced the formula together myself, and while it probably could be shortened and tidied up a bit, I made it work all by myself, so I'm keeping it. Not a woman, but if I'm being realistic, it's some. I was surprised to see this wasn't the accounting subreddit I joined, lol. Any auditors in here? My dyslexic brain read it as in cell function and I was really confused. LMAO. One that I use quite often, equals cell. Hit scroll lock to scroll through the spreadsheet with arrows, without changing your current selection. I've been exploring the delights of an indirect formula, using it to sum product data across multiple worksheets. It's very hot. Countifs. Hands down my most used formula for all the terrible tables I have to sort through and count up. It saves me having to go through everything by hand. Simple stuff like sort makes otherwise time-consuming stuff so much faster. Then I get mad I can't use it on other shit like Google Keep. I'm a big fan of sum product. With a little manipulation you can do just about anything with it. Especially when you have horizontal and vertical labels, turn it into an array and bam, answer central. Mastering VLOOKUP is a whole new level of flexing. And hashtag X200B. Also, don't hook up where you VLOOKUP. I don't know if it was your intention, but this post has me cracking up. I like making cool little budget spreadsheets with the pie chart graphics to show my spending. I'm gonna conditional format the shit out of you. Creating graphs. It's so easy. I never knew until last month. Equals VLOOKUP is fun. Match and index hands down. Made people think I was a genius. Countifs. Great for identifying interesting patterns in data. I also like zoonifs and averageifs. For some sexy cleaning up of data use find, len, left, right. You can things like pull out domain names and usernames from email addresses etc. Index match together are so easy and so impressive to cross-reference things. VLOOKUP? I use it all the time to move data around from spreadsheet to spreadsheet. It's my go-to. When I can't figure out how to do something I can usually hobble things together with a VLOOKUP somewhere in there. Counta is underrated. It's like countif where if is there's something in this cell. 1. Since people are including things that aren't functions, I'll throw in converting a range to a table. Then, instead of looking a formula like this for number of yellow widgets sold, equals sumif, $b, yellow, $d. You could use equals sumif, data color, yellow date and number sold. 2. Conditional sum products. Ideally, you'd use a pivot table all the time, but sometimes pivot tables and pivot charts won't maintain their formatting when the data is refreshed. So, I just recreate the pivot table with conditional sum products. This is best for when you know the partitions you've created won't change. However, they're a little memory intensive, so you wouldn't want to use it in thousands of cells. For number of A-type yellow widgets sold, equals sum product, data color equals yellow, data category equals A, date and number sold. This thread is so fucking hot. Whichever one I can misuse the most to completely aggravate the computer guys. I like a nice join, unique, filter, but oh wait, I can't use filter in Excel for no very good reason. Google Sheets for life. Is _null. Custom sort. Most of my library reports are generated in the most stupid arrangements. Thanks heavens I can export them out of the library management system to Excel. Shannon Wiener Index and ANOVA. Concatenate. Hands down. VLOOKUP is the close second. The one where it does the math for me. Because I'm awful at it? Honestly, not really an Excel girl. Origin is the way to go. Changing the theme colors to be aesthetic colors rather than the standard makes organizing so much more appealing. Functions are for wimps. Macros are where it's at. Pi, easily. I can use the block coloring thing to make rainbows. VLOOKUP because I'm lazy and don't want to look for when something is in both columns myself. Not having to do anything in Excel. Dope. Alt plus gets a smart sum, Shift and Enter gets you to the bottom of your selected values. Control space gets you the whole column. I fucking love Excel. Power BI all the way now, Excel on steroids. I love being able to freeze a row or column so the titles are still visible when I scroll around. Also transpose data, much easier than having to type it all in again just because it's in the wrong orientation. The exit button. Data tables, one of my most and one of my least favorite functions. I love them because I can bring Excel to its knees to model things that would otherwise have been practically or actually impossible to model. I hate them because they allow me to bring Excel to its knees and it then runs like a dog. Freeze panes. Did Greendale's Dean write this? I just wanna know why this is just for the ladies. LOL. Girls go crazy if I show them you can point arrows to dependent and precedent cells in formulas. And open a tab sheet in a different window so you can check linked cells without taking screenshots. Winky face. I love Excel. My most used functions are VLOOKUP, neatif, countifs, sumifs, concatenate, but I actually enjoy finding new functions, so this thread has given me lots of new ones to try. This whole thread is like porn, I love it. VHOOKUP, AutoSum and VLOOKUP. I used to do inventory management and there were over 10,000 SKUs from quite a few inventories that had to be edited or checked, cross-checked, or changed daily. VLOOKUP saved my life. A lady in the streets, a freak in the Excel sheets. Why is this targeted at ladies? Pivot tables are God mode. Sincerely, a human with testicles. I never knew people would be this much into Excel. Everyone I work with hates it. Index and match. Sometimes I get it wrong, but when it's right, and I drag that piece of shit across, bliss. Not a lady but my boss is, and I know for a fact her favorite is sumif. Mostly because she taught it to me, and does it save you so much time. VLOOKUP makes me feel clever. Concatenate all the way. I like using it to create a unique reference point in a data set that has similar values. It makes organizing data that is very similar a breeze. Y'all really sleeping on filter drop-downs and transpose? Transpose flips columns and rows. I think it's only on Google Sheets, but there's also a filter, and it's life-changing. As well as imports ML, which I have in every Google Sheet I own. 500 th, comment. Data validation to stop shitty input. Also a fan of some of the formatting functions, proper, upper, lower, etc. Text to columns can be useful, easier in Power Query, and month can be useful too. I'd prefer a SQL database at the end of the day, however. I love Excel, but it takes me forever to Google to get it to do what I need. Can anyone recommend a good free online course? Not a lady, but just poking fun at 90% of responses to AskReddits that are explicitly requesting replies from a particular group of people. In my field, pivot charts are wonderful. It makes beautiful total compensation statements simple. And honestly, mail merge, simple as it is, has saved me days of work recently. If only I could CC or attach files. It's not Excel, but Google Sheets has A=Google Translate function. You can add words to the first column, then equals Google Translate, A1, to the second column and drag it down to copy the value. Viola, you have translated a whole list of words in almost no time. Pivot tables. I am a female, but can I just say? TF is Excel. VLOOKUP. That shit has changed my life. I'm a simple gal, I graph a lot of data, I love their graphing tools. Index match using multiple criteria as an array formula. Makes it so easy to pull out specific data into a table if it has to meet several criteria. =if error has allowed me to do some insane nesting. I've written functions recently that are 3 to 4 lines long. I was able to make a chart that checks day of the week, and automatically pulls and updates the chart based on weekday. On certain weekdays it has to do something a little special and different from others, so it's been a lifesaver to give to my co-workers who want to do it all by hand. I recently discovered pivot tables, and you have no idea how much easier it is to make spreadsheets for my video games now. I made one for Breath of the Wild, and now I just have to say on one sheet if I have a piece of armor, using a drop-down menu to indicate its current level, and then check the pivot table to see how many more total ingredients I need. So, for example, now I know I can sell 7 rubies because I need a total of 12 right now, and I have 19 in my inventory. Even my sister, who has never really used a spreadsheet, can use this one. Mother F***ing pivot tables. 3 managers want a different layout of the same data? Enter once and label tabs with their names. Spend the rest of the day on Reddit. Can't believe no one has brought up VLOOKUP yet. Makes data sorting and pulling between spreadsheets a dream. Index and match, name a more iconic duo. Why is this an only ladies question? I'm curious why you're asking the ladies specifically. Are male uses of Excel more predictable and boring? Jesus, this subreddit has gone downhill. Macro recording. It will give you a bunch of unnecessary garbage, but is extremely useful for beginners. With no prior VBA training, I cut the time to complete the daily report from 1 HR to 5 minutes. For add-ins, I'm partial to Power Map. Not just cool visualization of data, it also helped me isolate inaccurate data points without relying on address verification services. Inquire is also very useful if you have a spreadsheet that is constantly updated. You can easily compare 2 versions to document the differences. Unfortunately, it takes quite a long time for large spreadsheets. VLOOKUP. It's a lifesaver. I've used it multiple times a day for years when making spreadsheets was most of my job. A close second would be the pivot table. Power BI. I use VLOOKUP the most, but any formula that automatically fills out the 14,000 rows in my spreadsheet just looks so satisfying. SQRT makes me happy every time I use it, because I love saying it as squirt, such a fun word to think. My favorite function to use would be ceiling, shortly followed by goal seek. Edit, just remembered paste special and locking cell references. Those definitely come before ceiling and goal seek. You ate the correct amount of cringe to get my vote. This'll get em wet for sure. I feel on a lower level than others answering this, but VLOOKUPs and if statements really get me through the day. Regression analysis with light blue color coding. Nested SUMIFs for sure. Quick and easy way to consolidate information in large data sets. I had to learn on the fly at my current job, so simple things, turning headers into filters, forcing line breaks in cells, Alt+Enter, conditional formatting. regex extract all day, making REST requests and parsing JSON with regex is like my dirty secret, but it's so nice. r/eve this AskReddit is made for you. Since everyone here is flexing their Excel skills, let me know if any of you can make a Sankey chart using Excel. Count by color. Conditional formatted graph within cell. Macro recorder. Index match, of course. None. Because Excel suck. In the old versions Excel there used to be a version of Visual Basic 6 that you could use to write scripts. It was super awesome. I love a good graph and an efficient but aesthetic look. Tables and named fields. Nothing like typing out a formula where everything has a relevant name. Actually, I like how Google Sheets allows me to put div functions arguments in a text array, not needing the extra cells Excel does. Anyone knows how to use div functions in Excel with text array arguments? Conditional formatting and pivot tables are sexy AF, but give me a nice equals sum any day. It's simple, sure, but sometimes it's the simple things in life that are extra gratifying. VLOOKUP. I just miss the good old days when Excel had a racing game. My wife said Linus. I gather it's something to do with graphs. I'm a huge fan of the freeze option. Conditional formatting to the side of the shape paint. The X button. Cause I have always hated Excel. LOL. I don't have a lot of experience with Excel, since I mostly do field work, but I have recently started working in the office. I made a table of contents on the first sheet of a workbook, with links that automatically take you to the sheet you want. It was super cool to learn, since I have a workbook with like 50 sampling sites. Come some. SLOOKUP, bitches. Back in the day I appreciated not having to calculate standard error of the mean by hand. I love a good VLOOKUP or Alt+F11 adventure myself, especially when it goes a little wrong and have to start over. I was made redundant 6 months ago and decided to take a while off to relax, thus post has just made me realize how much I miss Excel. Sum by color, added through VBA, to some cells of a certain background color. There are lots of codes knocking about online, here's the one from Excel Exchange. Function sum by color, cell color as range, sum range as range. Application.volatile. Dim ICOL as integer. Dim T cell as range. ICOL equals cell color dot interior dot color index. For each T cell in some range. If ICOL equals T cell dot interior dot color index, then sum by color equals sum by color plus T cell dot value. And if Next T cell. AND function.